And we're back. So, no time for you, little time for us. And we just did a third coat of gloss. It looks so good. If it was up to me, I would probably do like a fourth or even a fifth coat. But we just ran out. And we have no more. So I'm like, you know what? That is what it is. And it looks great. And my dad's like, if you want, you can always add more gloss.
Yeah.
Like, you know, always add more gloss. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It's also gloss paint, so I really don't need to worry about it. Anyways, I want to tell you guys about N.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yay.
In so many different directions. Wow. So, first of all, the most important thing to say right off the bat is it was incredible, wonderful, beautiful, perfect. It went as well as I possibly could have imagined, and that was in part due to how amazing all of the people who were on the trip, but also in large part to the two other faculty members, Natalie and Courtney, who, like me, Natalie and Courtney were the three people running this trip. Mm-hmm. Just, they were amazing. There was one dark moment, like, where everything goes wrong, right? And, like, we got through it so well. And I had this moment where I was like, imagine if I didn't have them on my team. And I literally, you guys, was like, I can't go there. That idea is so scary. The idea of having a different teammate on this, or not having these two amazing women on this team, I can't go there. I'm already so stressed that I can't go there because they were so amazing. So anyway, it's just huge credit to them. So if you guys don't remember this, because I kind of purposely didn't talk about it in the run-up a little bit just because it had already sold out. I didn't want to, like, you know, I was just like, this is going to happen. And then once I know everything about it, I will come and report back and tell you all about it. So if you don't remember, or if you just didn't catch this originally, I was asked to run classes on a Anne of Green Gables pilgrimage on Prince Edward Island. This is run through a company called Common Ground Pilgrimages, who do literary pilgrimages. And they've been doing these for 5 years. They've done Pride and Prejudice. They've done Jane Eyre and Harry Potter, and I'm trying to remember all the other, I don't know, lots. They've done lots of these. Like, this is what this company does. Mm-hmm. And they asked me to be a part of the Anne of Green Gables trip. So I did not plan this trip. I did not, you know, book things. Mm-hmm. I didn't choose the itinerary. And I just want to make that clear. Just, like, set expectations. Like, I was hired to host classes and like do programming on the hikes and on different things. Okay. And I was like, this sounds amazing. I would be so happy to do it. And when they hired me, they didn't know I loved Anne of Green Gables, which I think is so funny. Isn't that so funny? They just were like, do you like it? And I'm like, yeah, I love that book. And they're like, oh,
it's
great.
Only your whole personality.
And they also didn't know that I lived so close to it. They didn't know that I'd been there before. It worked out
perfectly.
It really worked out perfectly. And so from the early stages, I did recommend a lot of stuff. And if you guys remember, I was going to go to PEI a couple years ago. Do you remember this, Raylene, for my birthday? And then they got hit really badly by Hurricane Fiona on that coast of PEI. And so I got a phone call a couple days before my trip was supposed to happen. And they were like, we're so sorry, but we have to cancel your reservation. We've lost power. We have no idea when it will come back. One of our buildings is crunched, like all sorts of things. And I was like, guys, don't even worry. Thank you so much. I'm sending you so much love. Don't worry. One day I'll be back. I had chosen that inn, Kindred Spirits Inn, because I'd like done so much research. I did so much research into which hotel inn thing I wanted to stay at. And this one was just so pretty and cute and close to everything. So fast forward a year or two later, when I got asked to do this pilgrimage thing, they're like, now we know that you're from Canada and nearby. Like, have you ever been there? Do you have any recommendations? I was like, we have to stay at the Kindred Spirits Inn. And they looked it up and they're like, wow, this looks perfect. I'm like, it is perfect. And so we stayed there. Please make the trip happen. And so we stayed there. So it felt like a really beautiful like cycle moment where I was like, I was supposed to be here 2 years ago. Now I am here for such a different reason and such a different trip. But like it was amazing. So the accommodation was so beautiful. My drive out was really fun. I got to cross the Confederation Bridge, which is a 13-kilometer long bridge.
Oh,
when it
wow.
was built, it was the longest bridge in the world. It's unbelievable. It's so, so cool. I remember crossing it when I was a kid and my parents took us on a road trip to PEI. It's just like, you're on that bridge for so long.
Yeah, you're not usually on a bridge for more than like a few seconds or like a minute tops.
Yeah. No, it doesn't even feel like you're on a bridge. It kind of just feels like you're on a road, but all to the left and all to the right is water. Like,
That's
it's
sick.
wild. You are kind of crossing part of the ocean, right? Like
Yeah.
the strait to get to the island. Yeah. So anyways, it was 5 days. We met on Friday. I got it on the Thursday and met with the team and had this like big dinner with them where we were just kind of like, oh boy, here we go. And I had this, and I really wanted to show this on the podcast because I know that to people watching this it means nothing, but this is my folder.
Yeah.
I spent so long preparing for this trip, like days on days, printing handouts, planning activities.
Oh, yeah.
I had a sheet. Where's my sheet? I have this sheet that's bonus material for bus meals and journaling. There's questions to get to know people, bonus questions, trivia about Anne of Green
my
Gables,
gosh.
games we could play, like all sorts of. If there is a lag, what could I fill it
Never a
with?
dull moment.
Never a dull moment, right? And you would be surprised. I used that sheet a lot. It actually came in very handy.
That's awesome.
All of my class notes with questions and specific quotations, page numbers, so I could flip to topics, themes. I took this really seriously because I knew people were really excited for this trip. It was an expensive trip. It's a 5-day trip. Everyone was coming from away. Like no one on the trip was Canadian.
Whoa. Okay, that's really surprising.
I am also very surprised. No one on the trip was Canadian. It was all Americans except for one girl, Anna, who was from Spain.
Amazing. I was just going to say, did anybody come from across the sea? I bet there was one person.
Anna. Obsessed with
Anna,
Anna.
go.
She was so great. But yeah, like everyone was from away and I was like, and even if they hadn't been, I wanted to make sure that everything I was in control of, I had given 110% to. And I really felt like as I was driving to Prince Edward Island, I felt ready. I was like, there is nothing I'm not prepared for. This folder, like, has everything.
Yeah.
I was so attached to the folder. And I knew as part of the trip, it's so beautiful. Everybody got one of these journals.
Ooh.
Anne of Green Gables, Common Ground Pilgrimages, it says, and it's printed by Papier, that brand, if anyone's heard of it. So everyone got a journal. This was going to be how I like did all my lesson planning and everything. So basically every lesson that I did, I say lesson, I was more like leading discussion, like making people really think a lot about the book and ask questions and get people like just having really interesting meanwhile discussions that you can't have on your own, right? So how every class that I hosted went was I would hand out a little handout that I had cut to be a quarter-sized sheet so that they could tape it into their journal.
Nice.
And then I'd run through all the activities and the lessons, and on there they'd have quotations so that they could look through them and not need their book, even though everyone had their book. I had printouts of scans of the book so that we could do blackout poetry. I had like so much stuff, so many, really, so much stuff. I also freaked out the day before, like when I was packing, and I just put every book that I have about Lucy Maud Montgomery and Anne of Green Gables in a basket. Took that with me. Was like, you know what? Who knows? I won't want this. Like I took everything because I was like, I just want to have everything on hand if I need. Also, because I was driving, it made packing so much easier because I was able to just
there's no
take
reason
whatever
not
I
to
wanted
bring
to
every
take.
single book you have.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing I was thinking about was like, okay, everyone's gonna need to, like, I want people to tape stuff into their book and really use the journal a lot. Like one of my activities was a rainbow walk. And so basically, like on one of our hikes, I was like, everyone try and find something red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple.
Cute.
So here's mine, Ray. You can see my little.
I love that. Oh
Isn't
my
that so
gosh.
cute? And then I also brothered my. Borrowed my brother's Instax camera, and I bought a bunch of film for it, and everybody got a photo on another hike, and I was like, take a photo of something and then we'll like do some Anne activities with that photo and tape that into your journal. So I had a lot of taping stuff. So I bought everyone washi tape, a really cute floral washi tape. And the ladies who were helping me with this trip, right, like the actual faculty. So there was Courtney, who was on logistics. My God, I've never met a more competent person in my entire life. Like, she was so on top of everything.
That's the best.
Raylene, she had a lot of you energy.
I was going to say, like, she sounds like my kind of gal.
Yeah, like super organized, love spreadsheets, no BS, just like going to call, going to make a decision, going to like go through with it. Like, just, it was just awesome, awesome, awesome. She was incredible. But her and Natalie, who, Natalie, how do I explain Natalie? Natalie was like an elf that you find in the woods and makes everything better.
Ooh,
like calms everyone down, makes everything feel like we're all going to be okay and we're all having a great time and let's ground ourselves. Like, she was the guidance counselor on the trip.
Amazing.
And I know that if I had planned a trip like this on my own, I probably wouldn't have thought to have a guidance counselor type figure on the trip. Wow. So valuable. Like, oh my God, obsessed with her. She's like the nicest person I've ever met. So the three of us, I felt like we're such a great team. We had some really awesome, like, problem solving moments. A perfect example of this was, I'm so proud of us. The night before, I would spend time going over all my notes, making sure I was super prepared I obviously already was prepared. I had everything printed, but I wanted to go over it, make sure I knew exactly how the flow was going to go. And like, was there anything I could involve from today and tomorrow's lessons and stuff like that? And so I was going over everything and going over the itinerary and realized we didn't have it in our itinerary to visit Lucy Maud Montgomery's resting place where she's buried.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's an oversight. We definitely should be going there because it's an 8-minute walk from this was part of the reason why I recommended the Kindred Spirits Inn. It's like everything is so close. Yeah. And I was like, it's literally an 8-minute walk away. You could do this whole thing in half an hour, just like walk there, see it, and walk back or whatever. I was like, okay, well, I'm at least going to mention in my class, because my class was the first thing that happened every day. Yeah. I'm like, at least going to mention it to everyone that on your free time, I really recommend you all go there. So in the morning, I'm debriefing with Courtney and Natalie, and just with Courtney. And I'm saying to Courtney, I'm like, I noticed we don't have this on the itinerary, and it's a real shame because blah, blah, blah. And so this is where I come in, where I'm like the ideas person. Yes, and I know Lucy Maud Montgomery really well, and I know the book really well, and I know this is important, and I've already mapped this all out. Like, I know where we should be. Yeah. We should be doing this. And Courtney's like, let's make this happen. We can make this happen. How long does it take to walk there? And I'm like, 8 minutes. She's like, what route will we have to take? I'm like, well, we can actually walk there from here. She's like, all right, let me figure this out. And then at our next moment, when we have everyone, she's like, so we're going to be wrapping this up 10 minutes early, but we're going to be going on a really beautiful walk, as if it was like always intentional. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unbelievable how she just like is so good at corralling everyone and organizing everything. Yeah, so cool. She made it possible. She shifted our itinerary just slightly to make room for this additional programming. And then she throws to Natalie. She's like, Natalie, we're going to be visiting the cemetery. Is there something we could do? And Natalie's like, how long do we have to walk there? And we're like, it's an 8-minute walk there through the woods, through the haunted woods. Nice. Through the woods. And then we'll get to the cemetery site, and then we're going to walk to lunch. And Natalie's like, okay, how about we do a silent walk through the woods, which is like really thoughtful. And I love these silent walks that we did. And I'll encourage everyone to find a flower that we can then all lay on her grave site. Wow. And I'll say a few words there. And I'm like, so do you see what I mean? Like, it was like, I pitched the idea, Courtney made it happen, and Natalie made it special.
Made it magical, yeah.
Made it magical. Wow. Oh my God. That's like, that gives me chills. She was so amazing. All of them. Everyone was so amazing. That's I love my team so much. I love my team. They were unbelievable. I loved everyone that came on the trip. In the beginning, I'm really not very good. I'm not good with names. I find names quite stressful, like, because I know names are important and I want to get everyone's names right. But I'm just so excited when I meet people that like they tell me their name at the beginning, and then it like washes over me, and then I am too shy to ask for it again. I don't want to be rude, right? But one of the kind of like norms that Courtney explained at the beginning of the thing, she was like, you're allowed to ask people's names as often as you want. Like, she says this to everyone. She's like, because none of us are going to get offended, because we all know that we're just trying to learn, and there's 23 people here.
Oh, and
damn,
we just want,
yeah, it was 3 faculty and 20 people on the trip. And so she's like, we all just want to get to know each other. So you're allowed to ask names as much as you want. By the end of the first day, I knew everyone's names.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are our people. These are our peeps. I love these people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everyone was so sweet and so special and so kind. And like everyone would chat with me and come up and say hi. We had so many people there that were from the podcast, right?
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
I know. They were like, I listen to the podcast. We've been talking, like half of us listen to the podcast and half of us have never heard of you.
Oh, that's so fun. That's a perfect blend.
I know. And like lots of people who found the podcast through my channel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was so beautiful. It was such a special time. And we got to see we got to see everything. We saw Green Gables. We saw Lucy Maud Montgomery's birthplace, different buildings that she'd lived in during her life. We got to see different museums that are like Green Gables related. Lots of different little gift shops, her gravesite.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I forgetting? I have the folder, which has the itinerary in here, of course. A huge part of their trips is hiking.
I was going to ask
we did do a lot of big hikes, which was
go?
Raylene. I did it. I hiked every single hike.
Oh my gosh. So how long were the hikes? Were they different every day? Did you hike every day? Like
they were different every day. There was 3 of them. The first one was the most intense one. It was like 4 hours.
Nice.
Which isn't that bad, but when you think about just like I'm talking to people the entire time, this is why this was so intense. Because I was faculty and also because obviously a lot of people came on the trip because they know me, I felt like I needed to talk to people all day long. And so these days were super like on. I'm like on from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Sure.
And then I'm like in my room for the next 2 hours looking over my notes and trying to chill. Like also, when a big day like that happens, often you can't get to sleep at the end because so much happened that your brain is like, whoa.
There's a lot going on. And you're thinking about what's still to come. Like you still have lots of lessons that you need to lead and like discussions to have and stuff. So it's just nonstop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the hikes were really, really great. The second day hike was really short. We ended up like, because the first day hike was so much longer than we thought, we ended up like making the second day hike a lot shorter and just getting a lot of beach time, which was awesome. And then the third hike was really long. That one was like was started at 10 and ended at 4.
Oh damn.
It was really long, but it was very leisurely at a leisurely pace because we had a guide who was incredible. Her name was Kate McQuarrie, and she is like this incredible woman who knows so much about Prince Edward Island. Like she's a biologist. So
cool.
she like would point out plants and then she'd hand us all a bit of it and she's like, go ahead, eat it. And we were like, okay. And we just eat it.
Oh, that's
and I just
sick.
put my life in Kate's hands and she's like, what do you taste? And we're like, citrus. She's like, that's correct. It was so cool. It was so cool. And then the other thing that we did was eat. As obviously, right? Like lot of eating and like meals. And so every day there was breakfast at the hotel, which was really nice and cute. And then there was a catered lunch. Sometimes the lunch was at a restaurant, but sometimes it was during our hike. So it was like a packed lunch, but they were always really, really good. Nice. And then the dinners were all amazing. Like all of the restaurants were so fantastic and fun. Trying to remember, my favorite one was called... Again, hold on. I can remember. North Shore Canteen was my favorite one. It was so great. I really recommend if people are in Cavendish that you go to the North Shore Canteen. The food was just crazy good. And it was family style. I've never heard that term before.
Oh, really?
Family style. No. Where they just like keep bringing you food and everyone shares it. Kind of like a buffet at your table.
Yeah.
Whoa, the best buffet, but you don't have to move.
Best of both worlds. Well, I actually had another question about the hikes.
Yeah, please.
So were any of the hikes where you were like hiking to get to a specific place, or were you just like on hikes to like get a nice view? Like what was the vibe?
Yeah. I love that question because, okay, so I have dreamt about doing a literary tour before. Like I have sketched out a London walk for George Orwell, and I've sketched out like different London or different England trips for Jane Austen. Like I've looked at doing trips like this before, and this was one of the reasons I was excited to do this, because I was like, well, I've thought about doing this myself. What would this actually be like?
Yeah.
And obviously this is called a pilgrimage, not a literary tour. So pilgrimages are about walking, like about walking to somewhere that is a holy place, right? Or a sacred place. And And so I kind of expected that we would walk to something, but we didn't. They were basically just hikes. Like we would start somewhere and then walk a really big circle, like a big hike loop or a big path, and then get picked up on the other side or walk back or whatever. So we didn't ever actually walk to anything. But I really liked that. We talked about that at the end. We were like, that would be really special if you like actually were walking to Green Gables and it took you 2 hours to get there, but at the end you knew you were gonna get there. I think that's a really special idea.
It makes it a little extra special because having a destination is nice. I mean, the walk and the journey is obviously nice too, but
of course, yeah. It was so great. Everyone was so nice. It was so special. I also haven't worked that hard that long in a while, where it was like literally like a week of 15-hour days. Yeah. Where it was just like wake up, get dressed, and you're on. Yeah. And then full itinerary till the end of the day, then plan for the next day, try and shower somewhere in there. Like showers got sacrificed a couple of the nights. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Actually, that's not even fully true because I sent you photos of this. My room had a jacuzzi tub. Yes. Which was huge. And a couple of the nights I was like, I need the jacuzzi tub. And I would just get in there and like soak. And I was like, okay, we're okay.
The jacuzzi tub can make everything better.
It was really, really good. But yeah, it was very intense. Like I couldn't do that for a month. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like not that anyone would do that for a month, but I was just like, wow, that was very long hours. Really special, though. Such a cool trip. Really grateful that I was invited to do my part on it. Yeah. And I hope everyone had a great time. I really feel like at the end, because that was my biggest worry. Like on the first day, it was me, Courtney, and Natalie having that dinner. Yeah. And I think it was Natalie who was like, what are like people scared of? Like, what are we worried about? Like, is there some calming that we could do collectively? And I was like, I'm worried that at the end of this trip, people aren't going to feel like it's worth it. Like, that is my only worry. Like, I know I've prepared everything I could prepare, and I just want to make sure that people feel that. And Courtney and Natalie, who have been on multiple of these trips, they were like, I know why you feel that way, but that has never happened. Like, people always have a good time. I was like, okay. And at the end, I was like, we did it. I was like, it went so well.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
All right. I want to show you some stuff that I bought on the trip. We got souvenirs. Okay. So let's transition to that. Let's talk souvenirs. Woo! All right. The first thing I wanted to show you, I actually bought before the trip. I bought it for the trip. Okay. And it is the Anne of Green Gables DVD set. Oh, did I show you this?
Yes, you did.
Oops. Okay. I literally don't remember what's going on in my life anymore. And I was like, did I show them this? Because it's so fun. Okay. So we did a movie night with a big debate. I structured a fun debate where I was like, okay, if you want to watch the 1985 version, step to the left side. Ooh. If you want to watch Anne with an E, step to the right side of the room. If you don't care, like you're neutral right now, stay in the middle. Yeah. And then people debated on either side to sway the people in the middle to like join sides. Yeah. It was really cute. In the end, 1985 won. When I tell you, apparently Anne with an E is not. It's exactly like Pride and Prejudice, where people who grew up with the 1995 version are like, what are you talking about? 2005 is garbage. Whereas I grew up with the 2005 version, so I'm like,
that's your version.
That's my version. Apparently that's going on with Anne of Green Gables, because there was a lot of people there that were like, that version is ridiculous. And I'm like, ridiculous? Anyways, okay. It was really fun. It was all in good jest. First of all, I got this little Anne of Green Gables house. So cute. It is the cutest thing that's ever happened. It's a little like plaster house. It says polyresin. Okay, sure. House of Green Gables. It's so cute. As you know, I love miniature houses, so needed to grab that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, then I got in this little box a Christmas ornament. And I actually love that it comes in a box because that will keep it protected every year. It's a glass ornament that has a very lovely illustration of Green Gables on it. And there was one that had Anne on it, but I just find it a little awkward when people like draw characters.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm happy to just get one of the house, and it says Anne of Green Gables on it.
You're a house girl, so it makes sense.
I'm a house girl. I love houses.
Lean in.
So yeah, super cute. I'm very excited. But I love buying ornaments as souvenirs because every year you just get to pull them out, have a moment with them, be like, oh, that trip hanging on the tree. It's like a nice little yearly reminder.
Definitely. And it's more special than just having a bunch of plain ornaments on the tree.
Yeah, totally. So much more meaningful. They are like a little hard to transport, but like the fact that it came in a box is perfect.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then the next thing I got is this mug. Very cute.
Ooh.
I was so on the fence. I was like, I don't need another mug. I need to be careful with my mug buying
I just got rid of a
purchases.
bunch of mugs, actually, so I'm with you there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I might be nearing that point where there's a couple of mugs that I'm like, this is not actually, like, meaningful to me. There's too many mugs. But, yeah, I loved the shape of this one, and it was also very reasonably priced. It was, like, $20 or $19 or something, and I was like, it's such a cool shape. Mm-hmm. You're coming with me. Also, because I was in my car, like I had my car, I just drove there. I was like, I can buy
no inhibitions
anything.
at all.
Yeah.
Throw it in the Jeep.
And then the final thing I have is this bottle of raspberry cordial.
That's so funny.
It's carbonated raspberry beverage, it says. So if you've read the book, you know that this is a drink that's important to the story. Mm-hmm. And I actually spent my own money to buy everyone a bottle of this for our movie night because I went out to buy something that we needed at the convenience or like at the little grocery store, and I saw these and I was like, I don't care what it costs. I need everyone to have one.
And how was it? Was it tasty?
They're so good. Nice. I don't think it tastes anything like what quote unquote raspberry cordial is supposed to taste like, but it's delicious. It's a delicious, very sugary drink.
Okay.
I love it. I think it has more calories than a can of Coke.